So I'm going to ask you, do you think it's the newer generation that is perpetuating this whole I am a woman too, trans women are better, we can compete and be in your spaces because we're women too? Like, do you think it's more of the Gen Z millennial trans women that's doing that?
A lot of real women are really unhappy. A lot of real women are really insecure. And a lot of real women are really bothered that trans women really look better than they really do.
We have to worry about getting pregnant. We're not going to entrap them with pregnancy or anything. We are always on point with our looks. We take more care of ourselves.
Yeah.
We, put more effort into being a woman in all areas, including being a wife.
Someone tell me why us trans women are way better looking than real females.
So that's a really good question. So when I look at that question, I have to look at the scope, right? I have to look at how I was brought up and how this generation is brought up. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think that it's the entire form of this generation. I think that as with any class or group of people, there lies ignorance. Whether it be young, because there may be some older transgender women who feel the same way as some of the younger people do. I can't speak, like I said, I can only speak for me. But what I will say is that you have people that think the way that they think, if that makes any sense. The term better, I'm against the term better. I don't believe anybody's better than anybody. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when we say, I'm better, I can teach you to be more of a woman, or I can, and all of that to me is fucking ludicrous. Like it's fucking ludicrous. At the end of the day, I can teach you how to be somewhat like me, but I can't teach you to be something that's already in you.
Yeah, and I think that that's what a lot of women have an issue with. It's where it's like, even when I was on that podcast, it's like, well, trans women can teach us to be better women.
But I have seen a trans video where a trans woman said, we could teach women how to be better women than women.
Like how?
Yeah.
You can't.
I mean, we can teach y'all a thing or two.
How? I'm gonna admit it. It's some trans girls out here.
Tell me how you can tell me how to be a woman.
My only example is the makeup for me. How can somebody, a trans person, teach us how to be a woman? And wearing makeup is not teaching us how to be a woman. I don't know. I feel like that's subjective to how.
But not to say that my womanhood, because at this point, I feel that my womanhood is being challenged. When you tell me that somebody that is not a woman can teach me to be a better woman. I mean, I think the way that sounds, like it just rubs people the wrong way. And I think that this is why we have this combativeness between trans women and natural born women, or I don't even know.
Can I say this? Could it possibly, I mean, is there a possibility that there could be a form of ignorance there? And what I mean by that is the word ignorant stems from a lack of understanding, right? Mm-hmm. So here's the reality. Until you have great teachers in the LGBT community that's willing to actually teach and help and empower young transgender women, their minds are going to be messed up. You see, it's no different than a young girl that's lost, right? I get, there's a large community base. There are a lot of transgender women who have some real live stories, who grew up a certain way, that was not a good way. And they had to fend for themselves. They had to learn a lot of these things on their own. So they perceive I'm better because I did this. I came through this. I fought this battle. I could have been killed. I could have been this. I could have been that. I. There's no teacher there to say, listen, baby, you did a great job. But let me show you how powerful you really can be. Forget thinking you're better than a woman. Let me show you how to get your degree. Let me show you how to be somebody of importance. Let me show you how to grow up and be a person of standard without just labeling yourself and following the trait of the label. Let me show you this. Let me show you that. All the community. I'm gonna tell you a story about me. So when I was 18 years old, I was working for the post office. Okay. And of course, back then they only had 2 bathrooms, male bathroom, female bathroom. The woman's bathroom only had 1 stall. I worked in the male room, so it only had 1 stall and had a locked door. The men's room had multiple stalls, and there was no lock on the door. So I always used the female bathroom. So there was a woman that used to come in there, and she told me one day, she said, you know what? What she said? She said, you got one more time. I don't want to see you in that bathroom no more. I don't want to see you in that bathroom no more. I said, okay, cool, whatever. I tried to go to the men's bathroom, looking like I look now. I don't look very much different than what I did then. And I don't wear a whole lot of makeup and all those things. So I look the way that I look. So I went into the men's bathroom, was stereotyped. Oh my God, what are you doing in our bathroom? Why are you in here? Getting all this slack, right? About just simply trying to use the bathroom. Okay. So I started going back to the female bathroom. I'm the only one in there. She fired me for that. That plagued me for many, many years. For many years, that plagued me. I went through a whole nuance of things, from committing fraud to you name it. I did it, because with the exception of prostitution, that ain't never been my thing. But I did everything else. Sold drugs, you name it. I did it all. Because I thought that in my world, nobody's going to accept me. But I got to live. I got to survive some type of way. Yeah. I got to survive. I say that story because we have come a long way in this world. I'm the first transgender woman to lead a multi-million-dollar company and be the face of the brand. That wasn't taught from other transgender women to me. I was told at that age, you want to make it, you need to go out and you need to go suck a dick. You need to go out and you need to go walk the stroll. You need to go out and you need to go do this and you need to go out and do that. But luckily I had a grandmother who was a Secret Service officer. I had a mother who worked for the federal government. People that if you got caught doing something, they would know, because their clearance would then in turn be jeopardized. So you got to walk a thin line, because last thing I need is my mother calling me saying, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. So I had to learn, but the good part was that I had good mentors along the way.
So now, did you meet these people during your transition, I
was already transitioned. The only thing that I did not transition up until that point was the bottom surgery.
Okay.
And I waited for the bottom surgery. I didn't do the bottom surgery until I was in my 30s.
And why?
And it wasn't because I couldn't afford to do it, because I wanted to ensure that it was what I should be doing.
Okay.
You see,
okay.
Here's the thing on that. I firmly believe that if you're a youth and you're young, your mind is not 100% built. And I really think that decisions should not be made upon your life as such as that until it is time. Meaning, that this is the only way you're going to live your life. There is not a shadow of a doubt, because there is no return. There is no return. I can't wake up tomorrow and say, you know what? I'm going to hang this up. I'm going back to what I was 30 years ago. Because I don't even know who that person was 30 years ago, to be honest with you. I've been this person all my life, so I don't know who that person was. But I can't wake up and make that decision. There is no more surgery. I'm beyond that. I'm who I am now. So in order to make a conscious decision like that, you need to be ready.
You are in the perfect place to start on blockers.
And she promises to begin giving her estrogen, female hormones, in 2 years.
Around 13. That's what I think. Yes, you're not going to develop breast buds on the blockers, but you're not going to wait until 16 to start. You know that, okay?
Josie received the blockers as an implant in her arm.
It's okay if you cry.
So with all the bravery she could muster,
You're going to feel a little bit of a...
Josie held on tight as another chapter opened in this young girl's life.
So let me stop you there and ask you this. So what are your thoughts on gender affirmations for 9 years old, right? Where parents are affirming their children's gender, putting them on hormone blockers, as well as, helping them transition at a young age. Do you think that they should wait? Because in some places it's against the law to not affirm your child's gender.
And fresh from spending time praising Sister Roma, that same politician amended a recent bill to make it possible in California for any parent who does not affirm their child's transgenderism to be charged with child abuse. Think about that. What a bizarre world we live in.
Democratic Virginia delegate Elizabeth Guzman is a social worker, and she's planning on reintroducing a bill in Richmond that she says would help protect LGBTQ children from their parents and guardians who may not be affirming of their child's sexual orientation and gender identity.
This is how we're going to push back.
Her bill would expand the state's definition of child abuse and neglect to include parents who do not affirm their child's gender identity or sexual orientation.
There's an investigation also in place that is not only, from a social worker, but there's also a police investigation before we make the decision that there's going to be a CPS charge.
What could the penalties be if, the investigation concludes and it's concluded that a parent is not affirming of their LGBTQ child? What could the consequences be?
Well, we first have to have an investigation. It could be a felony, it could be a misdemeanor, but we know that a CPS charge could harm, your employment, could harm your education.
And Alexandria, Nick Minock, 7 News.
I don't believe that a kid should be on hormone therapy at the age of 9, 10, 11 years old. I don't agree with that logic. I think that at the age of 18 is sufficeful enough for a child to be able to make that decision on their own. I don't think that there are many kids out here who don't know. You don't know yourself at 11. Even when I was 11, I didn't know myself, which is why, my transition was slow. Mm-hmm. It wasn't overnight success. It wasn't, I'm jumping into this. Like, I gradually went into years of doing this. This was not an overnight process. But I get it from both sides, because as a parent, you want to be as supportive to your child as possible. You want to nurture your children. You want to make sure that you're making the right decision for your child. And believe it or not, a lot of these parents who are being victimized because of it, they really feel that they're doing the right thing. Because let's be truthful, huh? If you had a gay child, you don't know what the hell you're doing.
No.
You really don't know how to really talk to that. You don't know how to talk to that child, and your husband don't really know how to talk to that child. Because to be honest with you, you don't know how to be anything but heterosexual. Mm-hmm. So what can you teach your child? You can't teach your child how to be the pioneer gay person or the pioneer transgender person. You can't teach them that. So now your child has to go through life trying to figure it out. They can take a little bit from you because you're the feminine aspect of it. But the reality of it is that you can't go to them and say, hon, listen, I need you to do this because this is what's going to mold you into this. Yeah. So a lot of these parents get confused and they get lost, but they don't want to feel like I'm disregarding my child. They don't want to feel like if my child grow older and I don't do this, is my child gonna hate me forever? It's not for me to plague and judge the mindset of the parent, because I truly believe that these parents are doing it. I want to believe that they're doing these things because they feel if I don't do it, my child's gonna grow to hate me.
But do you think that society is kind of bullying parents into that too, though? Where, like, again, like it's laws. I read about this man in Canada who was in jail because he didn't gender affirm his daughter.
Father loses custody of transgender daughter. That's right, I was going to talk to you about Robert Hoogland, a Canadian father, and his travails with the education system, the health system, the legal system, which ultimately have seen him wind up in jail for not accepting his child's gender transition from female to male.
Like you said, if one of my children told me that they were gay, I mean, I have gay people in my family, so I would always have somewhere to point them to. Right. So I personally wouldn't know what to say, what to do. I would just love my child. Right. As a parent. But I don't think that if my child wanted to transition, how I would handle that. I don't think that I'm more than sure that I know that I would not say, OK, let's go through hormone therapy. Let's do these things that I'm watching parents do to their kids. And I'm like, I know at ages up until about 15, 16, my son and my daughter, their minds changed so much. When they went to college, they started wanting to do one thing and then they wound up doing something different. So when you're doing this life-altering thing, and then you have society on your back saying, you're a bad parent if you don't do that. I mean, that has to be a tough thing.
But see, here's the problem with that. Not to cut you off, but here's the problem with that. Anytime the government steps in and get into our business as a whole, it creates a problem.
Yeah.
I remember a time when my grandmother could whoop my ass as a kid and there were no repercussion. And I remember the time when my grandmother beat my sister and ended up in a courtroom. Right? So I remember watching these times change. Yeah. The problem is that we have come to a society, black, white, gay, straight, that we rely on the government to make the decisions for us. And at some point we have to say, when is too much government? When is too much government? Because right now I feel like the government is just really too much in our business. They're too much in our parental business. They're too much in our personal lives. They're too much involved. Women reproductive rights. Let's be real. I don't agree with abortion. Totally against it. But who am I to tell you that you can't do it? Who the hell am I? Yeah. That's an issue for that individual woman. That's not an issue for me, the government, to come in and say, hey, no.
So
how you raise your child and what you're not going to parent up behind that is just stupidity. It's stupidity.
So
all the way around the board.
What do you feel about, because we're talking about government, what do you feel when you hear, and I'm not sure if you ever heard it or not, where people are saying that this is an agenda. This is a government agenda to effeminize Black men specifically. I'm only going to talk about Black people, right? Because that's my core. I'm B1 first. I'm Black first before anything. So what do you think about people saying that the government has an agenda to push homosexuality and trans onto the Black community? And it's an agenda. It's an agenda to make straight men gay, and the other part of it is to bring our numbers down reproductive wise.
Nowadays, TV, media, and everything in between is programmed and trying to condition the Black mind to subscribe to homosexuality. Nowadays, everything as far as TV, music, and media is concerned is directed at the Black man and woman, trying to make them mascots of homosexuality and the colorful movement. And this is done to slow down the reproduction rates of Black people. They see our birth rate numbers is on the rise and theirs is dwindling.
I feel like now more than ever, this agenda is being pushed on us, which makes this, I'm very skeptical about where and why this is coming at us so hard, so fast.
And you referring to specifically just like
the whole LGBTQ
or
Black people. The number one threat to white supremacy is Black masculinity. So it should not be any surprise to us that after Malcolm X and after the Black Panther Party and Martin Luther King and all these revolutions and Black men standing up and being strong, that after that in the media, we see them pushing this image of Black men in dresses, dressing up as women. See, their intention with this agenda is and was to emasculate Black men and make them docile and neutralize them, because if Black men believe they're Black women, they're not going to go out there and fight for our communities and be militant and be strong and be like a Malcolm X.
Have you ever heard that before?
I don't think I necessarily buy into they're trying to, I don't think I buy into that. I think that first and foremost, I don't know how you make a person gay. I really don't. I guess I struggle with that narrative that you can make a person gay, right? Because I come from
unknowingly gay.
How do I?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That would be like you saying that you can make that gay person unknowingly straight.
No.
How can I make a gay person unknowingly straight? How can I make a straight person unknowingly gay? You like what you like.
I think it would be kind of similar to what the young lady said on the podcast that I was on, where it's like, okay, I don't know, that you're a trans woman, right? And you haven't had gender reassignment, right? So I'm meeting you, I like you, and then we're intimate, because I know that there are ways that can be hidden when having sex with men, right? And now we did that. And so now as a straight man, I had gay sex.
He didn't know I was transgender. Should I tell him?
He still don't know I'm trans.
And so I think that's where it is when it's like, well, you're trying to make straight men gay or indulge.
So would that be a narrative of the government, or would that be a form of deception from the individual that's sleeping with the person? Because to me, that sounds more like deception from the person that's deceiving the other individual. Because here's the thing: the government is not telling me to go out and sleep with anybody. The government is not telling me, hey, go out and trick these people. The government ain't telling me that. The government has no thoughts in that. So with that being said, if I'm just a shiesty person with my own agenda, that has nothing to do with government. That has everything to do with my morale at that point. That's my morality. Because at the end of the day, let me tell you something. I would never, and let me make this very clear, I would never deceive anybody. And the law clearly states that I don't have to tell you what I am. Once I had the surgery, they already affirmed my gender. So I don't have to tell you, nobody else, hey, I'm trans. I used to be this, or I used to have that. Do I do that? Absolutely. I'm a powerful African-American transgender woman. I don't need nobody that don't want me, that don't want me. I ain't lonely. I ain't suffering.